Hey guys, so as promised, we are back on the ship on the Fantasy. We are going to be taking you through our dinner tonight at Palo for our 9th wedding anniversary. We finished our complete day at Castaway Key. It was amazing.
And as you see, we are a little bit more nicely dressed. This is one of the specialty dinners on board the Fantasy. Palo and Remy are on most, if not all, of the Disney cruise ships. The Adventure might be the exception there, as it's brand new. But let's go see what we have in store tonight. As a note, we are not going to record anything while we are inside the restaurant, just out of respect for the atmosphere, but we'll show you everything we had and give you our thoughts on it afterwards. So let's go dig in. And welcome back, everyone. So as you saw at the beginning of our video, tonight we are taking you through our experience at Palo, one of the fine dining establishments on board the Disney Fantasy and a good selection of the other cruise ships that Disney has. This is one of the 2 fine dining restaurants on board, also joining Remy, which steers more to the French cuisine, Palo being the Italian cuisine. And before we get into a full review of everything, we just got to get it off the bat. It was a tremendous experience.
This was probably by far one of the best meals that we've had ever, period, with any Disney restaurant, with any other non-Disney restaurant,
Yes.
period. It was fantastic.
It was 10 out of 10, perfect in every single way, down from when we first got there, meeting our wait staff, and the food, which I know you guys are all waiting for anxiously. We'll get to in a little bit, but first, we've got some housekeeping to go over on what is Palo, how do you get there, and what all else that entails.
This is one of those establishments that isn't black tie, it's not suit and tie, but it is nicer. So you do have to come planning to be dressed in nice dress slacks or shorts, a polo for guys, or a button down for girls, a dress or a top, a nice blouse and a skirt. You do need to make sure that you're keeping that in mind when you're packing, so that if you already have your reservations for Palo, you don't forget that all-important fine dining dress outfit.
Yeah, so like, for example, what I'm wearing right now, a polo and shorts, this would not be enough to be able to get into Palo. As Jen said, I was in a button-up and some nice khakis and some dress shoes. Jen was in her red summer-ish dress. So we don't have to go all the way to the nines, as you could say. There were some people, though, in their grand regalia in there that night with probably some of the fanciest dresses that they've ever worn. But then you also have, there was gentlemen in there that were in their more dressy jeans, button-downs untucked. So it is not exactly suit and tie like a Victoria and Albert's at the Grand Floridian is. Yeah. This is more like a California grill style where you get a little dressed up because it's a good occasion, but not going to be like, hey, if you don't have a tie, you're not allowed into the restaurant. But how exactly do you get to go to this restaurant? Well, you need reservations for that. And for that, you have to book these well in advance. So this all is kind of dependent on your Castaway Club level. So Jen and her parents that we went with on the cruise, they were silver level Castaway Club members. That gave us an earlier window to make these reservations. If you are a higher level, you get even earlier. If you've never been on a cruise, then you'll be a little bit later than everyone else. So you may or may not get the opportunity to stake a claim at having a plate at Palo on your cruise.
Now, it doesn't guarantee that you won't, because we were only the 2nd level. We still had a lot of opportunity. We didn't get our reservation the first day we could have. We waited
a couple weeks, I think.
A couple weeks.
We were kind of back and forth on, did we really want to go? Because this is also an extra cost. This is not included with your cruise. This is an extra cost. We'll talk about that as we go along too. But we were kind of back and forth on whether we were going to want to do it. And we kind of just said, hey, you know what? We'll do it. We can always cancel it if need be.
So we waited a little while, and we still got the exact reservation time and everything that we wanted. We got the 6 o'clock, which was the first reservation time available, which is perfect for us because we were used to eating at 5:45, and 6 o'clock is our normal dinner hour at home anyway. So it was perfectly in line with everything that we wanted. Now, if you were wanting one of those later times for whatever reason that fits your bill more, I don't know if those were more readily available at that point. But again, we didn't have to be, it's not like some of those resort reservations at Walt Disney World that you have to be on at your 60-day mark or you're not getting that reservation.
And as Jen said, we were actually the earliest reservation of the night at 6 o'clock. It kept us in line with that 5:45 dining rotation time we've already had, and also kept us in line to be able to go and see the 8:30 show still that night.
And that was really important to us because we really wanted to see that night. We'll talk about it more, but that night was the original show. And so that was one we were really looking forward to. And we were really enjoying the shows. And we wanted to keep that going as part of our date night.
Yes. So, and because we had that 6 o'clock time, we were actually the very first people into the restaurant that night.
It was so cool.
I almost felt like, are we actually supposed to be here right now? Walking in as we were greeted going into Palo, but it was great. We went into the second room. It's kind of split into two rooms. We went into the second room, and we actually ended up getting a table right by the deck to where you can go out and get ocean views. So we were staring at crystal blue waters the entire night we were eating. It was wonderful views, and we were greeted and served the rest of the night by our wonderful server Krishna, who, just like we talked about our servers the first night of our cruise on Embarkation Day, which you can go back and watch that if you haven't already, with Tatiana and Matthias. If Disney sees this, please make sure you give Krishna our love and thanks for the care that he took with us all night in our special anniversary dinner.
He gave us fantastic recommendations throughout the night that we'll get to in a few minutes, but he was just so sweet and so attentive to every little detail. It was fantastic service above and beyond, which I think helped top this restaurant as a fantastic restaurant experience, not just from the food standpoint, but from the service standpoint as well.
Yeah. All right. Now, without further ado, I know you guys are waiting with bated breath to figure out, okay, well, what did you eat that was so good and made this so memorable? So now, without further ado, let us get into the appetizer section of the night, because we started things off with something to share that we're going to go cover right now. Okay, so to start everything off on our culinary journey at Palo, we were actually greeted with something we didn't even order off of the menu. This being the amuse-bouche.
Now, this was a total surprise to us, something that we got special from the chef, which was really, really cool for us.
Yes, and so this amuse-bouche, we each got one, came in a little cup, and you're going to be seeing that right now. It is essentially a potato gnocchi garnished with a little bit of Parmesan in a mushroom cream sauce. Oh my goodness, was this delicious. It was one bite and immediately I knew, okay, buckle in, because we're in for a wonderful culinary journey after this one.
We were really trying to politely scrape the rest of the bowl for as much of that as possible.
Yeah, I'm taking my spoon going, need a little more sauce. Let me take that.
As eloquently as we possibly could, so we didn't look like we were just ravenously gorging the entire cup. It was fantastic. And I tell you this from the perspective of someone who does not like mushrooms or even like cream of mushrooms, anything to do with mushrooms.
Yeah, same here for me. I'm a little iffy on mushrooms.
It was so good. It was so well balanced. That potato gnocchi wasn't, there's some potato gnocchis out there that are very chewy or really hard. It wasn't that way at all. It was like a nice bite, almost like a tortellini bite. And it was fantastic. Each of the different pieces, it was 3 ingredients, but each of the different pieces to it balanced it really, really well. And the mushroom wasn't overly earthy or anything like that. It was just very sweet is the word that comes to mind, but it wasn't sweet.
It was a little bit sweet with a savory kick in the back of it.
It wasn't like a dessert kind of sweet. It was just like a fresh sweet.
Yeah, it paired well with the gnocchi. And so that was our first appetizer of the night without us even ordering it. And before we talk about the next appetizer we actually did order, it is important to know that Palo has 2 different menus that you can do. You can either do a prefix where you select one from each category, and that roughly runs you about $55 per person. That can always change as Disney updates their prices occasionally. We instead decided to go off the a la carte menu because the prefix didn't exactly float our boat. Cruise joke for you there.
We could have done it, but there were some other things that we saw on the a la carte that we preferred to try first. And honestly, our server, Krishna, recommended more things off of that a la carte menu, and they sounded even better to us. that's kind of what we had gone in with wanting with our gut, and he just kind of confirmed that for us, and so that's what we went with, was that a la carte.
Yeah, and so the very first thing that we ordered for our appetizer was a tomato and mozzarella caprese. And if you know anything about a caprese, you think, okay, this is probably basic, but this was basic but elevated in all the same ways.
It was fantastic. So each piece of it was nice and fresh. When you think of fresh mozzarella, this is on an entirely different level of fresh mozzarella. They're round little mozzarella slices, and they're fantastic. The tomatoes, they're not overly juicy. They're not overly stiff. They were just perfectly ripened, which just blows my mind, because tomatoes are one of those that I feel like it's harder to do, especially when you're on a cruise. You can't just pick them ripe that day. So they have some way to keep them really ripe and fresh while you're on the journey. And it was, the balsamic that they used was not overly vinegary. It wasn't overly thick either or sweet. It was, again, it was perfectly balanced with each of the different pieces, and it pulled all of the different flavors that you needed from the mozzarella, from the acidity from the tomato, without being too acidic. It was mind-blowing how delicious this simple piece was.
Yeah, and it also, with appetizers, you also get a bread service accompaniment. So you had like a traditional Italian breadstick, a Parmesan crisp, and then another one in there that I was taking them and I'm dipping it into the balsamic, trying to make sure I steal all that sauce, just like I did with the mushroom sauce on the gnocchi, trying to make sure I get enough of that balsamic, because it was probably the best balsamic vinaigrette I've ever had within a caprese meal. Very simplistic in its presentation, but delivered so much on flavors that put us well on track for a good rest of the night in terms of the food.
Very much so. Now for our entrees, we went a little different directions. Mine was very more veggie focused. It was the agnolotti, which was amazing. If you don't know what agnolotti is, it is a ravioli with butternut squash inside, as opposed to just like a cheese-based or cheese and meat-based. And it was in a brown butter sauce. Now, the brown butter sauce might sound like brown sugar, which is what it sounded like to me. And it's sweet in that way too, but not like overly sweet. It pairs well with the savory, and it pulls out the sweetness of the butternut squash, making it perfectly delicious. Just light enough to feel fresh, but heavy enough with the vegetable that you feel full, but not so full that like you need to be rolled out of the restaurant. Like it was the perfect amount. And the one other piece of bread that we had that was so fantastic that Zach used as well to like dip up the rest of that balsamic, it was the garlic pizza bread. Literally looks like a little shape of pizza, but it's like garlic with it. I used that to dip up the rest of this brown butter sauce because it was so good. Yeah,
and I tried a little bit of Jen's dish. I didn't want to take too much from her because she was enjoying it way too much. And being a vegetarian, I wanted to make sure she was going to get a good enough meal out of Palo. And it was quite good. I'm not the biggest fan of like fancy raviolis and stuff. I'd rather just have spaghetti if I'm doing pasta. But for my dish, I went on the way adventurous side from what I normally do. I'm definitely considered a picky eater within my family. But tonight I was like, you know what? I'm doing something that I may only get to do once in my life, which is not going to happen after now we've been here. This is definitely a go back to.
Yes, for sure.
But I went with the ossobuco. Now, if you want to say bless you to me, I understand, because that's probably a very different word that we've ever heard. Ossobuco essentially is center cut veal shank with a Milanese risotto to go with it. And this was, from the very first bite, absolutely just stupendous is, I guess, the word, the adjective I can go there without sounding too basic with delicious. The Milanese risotto, it has a lot of notes of saffron and onion and butter in it. It's what gives it that yellow, bright color. Also, there's bone marrow mixed into it as well, which I'm going to save that for a second. I'm going to come back and tease about that for a little bit more to come. But the veal shank, it's basically broken into 3 parts within it. and it just falls off of the bone. It's like a filet mignon, but even more tender. Just taking my fork and slicing right through it, getting large bites. And before I ever had this dish, I am not a veal person. Generally,
he's very veal adverse. If you go anywhere with him, he will not even think about veal as an option.
Yeah.
I was actually floored when he said that he was going to order the veal, but it's what Krishna, our waiter, had suggested, and he sold it.
Yeah, something about being out in the sun too much at Castaway maybe did a number on me, but this was just so delicious and tender. It was not gamey in any way. It just took in all of the parsley and onion and all the flavors that were topped on it, took all of those in, and was better than any steak I've ever had in my life. And now about that bone marrow. So with osso buco, it is traditional that within that center cut veal shank, you will get a teeny tiny spoon that I did not even realize what this was for until Krishna actually came by and goes, "Are you going to have the marrow?" And I look at him like, "What?" Because within the center of the osso buco, you can take that little tiny spoon and you basically take out the bone marrow from within it and you eat the bone marrow. Whew, was this quite the adventure, because I have never had bone marrow in my life. As far as I know, bone marrow is something that goes in our dog's treats. I decided I'm going to try it, see what happens. It's very slimy. I won't say it's the best thing I've ever had in my life. It's very slimy, sort of along the lines of what an escargot may be. Packs a lot of flavor. Very good, goes well with that dish. I can't say I'll go out of my way to ever do it again, but if I ever get the osso buco again the next time we go to Palo, I'll know, one, what that little tiny baby spoon is for, and two, that it's quite good in the center of that bone. Well, now with entrees out of the way, it's time to go for the very best part of the night. And we're not kidding when we say that, because everything we've had up to this point was quite delicious, but dessert was where everything came together to make this a perfect night. So sit back, because you're about to see a grand chocolate souffle like you've never seen before.
Now for that most delicious part of the evening, our dessert. And again, we keep using that word over and over again. Truly, to me, that's just because there's no other word to really describe it. You could go through a plethora of different synonyms for delicious, and it would still all boil down to the same thing.
We should have brought our thesaurus for this video and popped it out and said, this was delightful, this was tasteful, but delicious is just like our caprese. Simple, but the most refined way we can explain anything.
And that's going to be exactly this next dessert. That chocolate souffle that Zach just mentioned a minute ago, it was incredible. From the first moment it comes on your table with presentation, it comes as a little souffle. It's not been popped open yet, and you've got a little bit of ice cream and a little cup of chocolate sauce. Your server will come in, it's actually got some assembly required, and they will present for you by opening your souffle, pouring the chocolate sauce for you, and then you have an incredible, delicious, again, incredibly delightful meal. That extra dessert piece, it tastes just like a chocolate lava cake.
Yeah, and it's chocolate lava cake, but more refined. It's a fancy chocolate lava cake. So if you've ever had a chocolate lava cake, which is common among more fancy steakhouse restaurants, then you're probably going to understand the flavors you're going to be getting here, but it is done to the highest level. The chocolate within the souffle, the outside is nice and crunchy from being baked in the oven.
Crisp flavor without being
burned. It's the crust you get on a nicely baked cake or pie and whatnot. The inside, it's all gooey, like a really gooey, fudgy brownie, which I am a brownie person when it comes to my birthday treat every year, so this was right up my alley. That chocolate sauce just enriches that chocolate flavor, and the vanilla ice cream actually comes out to you pretty frozen, and it really helps because the souffle is piping hot.
Yes.
They bake it for about 25 minutes before you even get it. You have to pre-order that to make sure it's going to be done in the right time. But the ice cream really helps cool your mouth off, but also pair the vanilla with the chocolate flavors really well. It was the best dessert I've ever had. from a Disney meal. It was tremendous in every way. And I cannot recommend this enough, that if you ever go to Palo, you have to get the chocolate souffle. I think I overheard a couple that was next to us. They're like, oh yeah, we know what we want. We want this, this, and 2 chocolate souffles, please. Yep. And we could have easily shared one of the souffles, but I think we would have probably been having a fight with our fork and knife as the night went on, because we would have went, hey, no, my last bite. So you can do 2 for one of each, and that's what we did, and it worked out perfectly for us.
Still, it's not too much. That little cup, it's small enough that you can do it individually. If you're really that full, if you had a lot of appetizers or anything, you could share one. But we didn't have too much before we knew we wanted to get dessert towards the end, so we wanted to save a little bit of room, and we knew that that would be the perfect size. Now, as a chocolate connoisseur, this was the perfect amount of chocolate and rich flavor combined with that vanilla, so that it cuts a little bit of that, so it's not overly chocolatey. Now, I'm not one to ever say anything is too chocolatey, but that would be him. I could go for chocolate all day, and it could be the richest chocolate in the world, and I would probably be fine unless I'm sick or something's wrong. When it comes to this was the perfect amount, cut with that vanilla, and it was all around the best for dessert.
I don't think we can say anything more to convince you that this was probably the highlight of the night when it came to dinner at Palo. But this, sadly, was actually the end of our night at Palo, too. But before we went, Krishna and the rest of the staff at Palo were gracious enough to recognize our anniversary. They presented us with a nice plate at the same time as dessert, signifying a happy anniversary for our 9th anniversary together. So just, again, above and beyond service from Krishna and the rest of the staff at Palo, we could tell the chef team that's there, and I'm sure all the other restaurants that on the Disney Fantasy and other Disney cruise lines, they know what they're doing. They know their way around the kitchen.
And you can really tell, too, that the entire team, from the servers to the chefs in the back kitchen, they take pride in their work. They're very proud of all that they do, and they truly want to do it for the enjoyment of the guests, to make magical moments for you through those experiences in food, in other ways, which is really cool and really special.
It was a tremendous night, and we'll never forget the very first time we went to Palo, and we cannot wait until we go back. But that is not where our night ends, as we still owe you a review of the show for that night. As Jen mentioned, it was the original to the Fantasy, which we'll tease in a second. We'll give that name. Also, you need to play a round of Guess That Towel Animal. As you did in our very first video for our Embarkation Day, it is now time to go for a second round of this one. So, on our way to talking about our show to end the night as a dinner and a show kind of theme for our anniversary, here's a look at that towel animal, and let's see if you can guess which lovable Disney character this one was.
Hopefully you got that towel animal guess correct. Tonight it was WALL-E. So if you've ever seen the movie WALL-E, it takes that very forward-looking idea at how Earth has changed over time, where people are now living on ships in outer space. And so our towel animal was all wrapped up to be our sweet little WALL-E, which we thought was really, really cute. We've never seen WALL-E done like that. So we really enjoyed getting to come back to WALL-E. Then we move straight into our show for the night, which we keep mentioning. It's that original to the Fantasy. This one is going to be, hands down, probably one of, if not our absolute favorite show of the shows that we got to see on the ship throughout our cruise. This one is called Believe. Now, this storyline is very, very special. It's heartwarming and endearing, very family-oriented, looking at a family that's been created in this storyline and how they're going through their own journeys and experiences, believing in magic and the things of imagination and wonder that we as Disney people all love to believe in.
And now, before we talk about anything within the show, if you want to be fully surprised about what you're going to see in Disney's Believe, we're going to throw up that big spoiler alert right now. And until you see that go away, if you don't want to know anything about the show,
go ahead and fast forward.
Fast forward, maybe mute us a little bit. We'll have chapter times in the bottom of this video. You can scrub forward if you don't want to see anything about the show. Yeah, there are very original characters to this in that family that Jen mentioned, but there are a ton of Disney movies and characters and songs and scenes all spliced throughout this. A couple of the highlights that we saw, you have a rendition of Mary Poppins in there. You have a whole Step in Time with a bunch of dancers all at one time doing Step in Time.
It was the most incredible thing to get to see on the show.
That was a standout. You have references to Jen's favorite, Pocahontas was in there. You had some Peter Pan. You even had some deep cuts, like a Baloo comes out and Merlin also comes out and goes through some of the magic there. But by far the standout was a certain Blue character from the show we saw the night before in Aladdin coming back into this, and it's the same actor as well, and it continues off of that. It was tremendous. You get a lot more Genie in this. The humor is there. The heart is there. Pretty sure Jen broke some tears at the end of this one. I don't even think we need to say it was one of the best. This was the best show we saw on the fantasy. Now, you're not always going to get the same rotation of Aladdin, Believe, and then the next one we'll talk about in our future videos. But you will always have Believe after Aladdin just because of the way that the Genie storyline works. But this was by far, if you're only going to catch one of the shows, make it this one, because it was the best night we had in the Walt Disney Theater among the 3 that we were there for.
For sure. And we talked about, I believe, in our last video as well with the shows, that you could sit in the balcony or you could sit in the main portion of the theater. Our kids were with my parents that night, and so they had gone to the same Believe show, but they were in the main portion of the theater. So they got to interact a little bit with some of the performers, which was really a cool experience for them.
Yeah, we were able to look over the balcony and go, hey, look, there's our family.
We stayed up in the balcony, and it was still an incredible experience from up in the balcony because you could see everything happening out in front of you, and that was a really unique way to get to experience it as well. So again, really didn't matter which place in the theater that you went. It was just an overall incredible experience.
And it was the perfect way to cap what was a special night for us, celebrating our 9th wedding anniversary at sea on the Disney Fantasy. All
right, so once that show was over, our night was not quite yet finished. There are tons of different places that you could go hang out on the ship, even after that show finishes around 9:30, 10 o'clock. There's all kinds of different adults-only activities. There's all kinds of different, some family activities, some teen-only activities, and young adult-only activities. We didn't want to go do any of those activities in this particular night, so we really just explored the ship. We went through and looked at all the stores, which we hadn't really done yet because we had been exploring the ship itself and then on Castaway most of the day. So we took time to go through the stores, kind of get an eye for what we wanted to get, which again, if you want to see that, make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can know when we're coming up with that next video, looking at our haul from our cruise overall.
Yes.
We did go ahead and start eyeing what we wanted, or looking at how many things might still be available that our kids had an eye on, so we know, okay, we need to buy it tomorrow because it looks like it might be almost out of stock.
I even noticed this when we go to Lookout, which is our next day, and kind of why we wanted to get to bed a little on the earlier side, because we wanted to wake up and get ready to go to Lookout Point the next day, that as the day goes on, certain merchandise does run out. So if you see something, go ahead and get it, because you may not get another chance to do so.
It doesn't, they don't replenish the stores on the ship when you hit ports. They'll only do that at the beginning of every cruise.
Yeah.
So if you see something that you definitely want to get, don't wait till the last minute. Don't like you do at Disney World, don't wait until the last night of your vacation. Go ahead and do it before then if it's something you're dying to have. So that's what we did. We went around and explored the ship. We walked outside, got a bit of fresh air, took in the sea at night, which was really, really unique in and of itself. A little spooky at times because it's so dark, but it was really, really cool and just awe-inspiring.
Yeah, you look down there and go, I wonder what's down there in the water as we're passing by, because it's so dark you can't see.
And you're moving so quickly.
Yes, and we were moving quickly, and we were actually starting to get a little bit of the rocking back and forth a little bit as the ship was doing on our first night. So I was starting to get a little bit of the headache again that I had the first night.
I was still fine.
Nearly as bad. I'm happy for you. not nearly as bad, but still enough where I was like, okay, I gotta go take a little bit more medicine for that to have that go away. But it was a perfect night in every way for us to spend our 9th anniversary, like I said before, and a great way to now prepare for our next day, going out to Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, which you will have to come back and see, as that will be our next installment of our Disney Cruise Fantasy series. And like Jen said, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and tap that bell for notifications of when our next video in this series and any other we do in the future will come out on our channel. We're 3 deep into this series now. If you've missed those first 2, we'll have a link to our playlist down below of Embarkation Day and our day at Castaway Cay. So make sure you go back and watch those to get a full update of our time on the Disney Fantasy.
We've loved having you guys with us on this journey and being able to share with you what our whole anniversary was like at Palo and at the theater tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. We hope you'll see us again soon at Lookout Key.
All right. Well, for Jen, I'm Zach. We're the Disney Pros. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.